All right, all right, all right. Week 10 done. But I have to say, and Shane, thank you. Shane Ward was the one who told me. So, by the way, anyway, I laugh a little bit at myself that I didn't do this. So, week 10 attendance was not made open to where you could reply. And I heard from Shane last night while I was asleep. So this morning I woke up to, oh my God, it wasn't there. So I'm hoping you watched the video. I think some of you did. Now, I did open it up and I'm going to leave week 10 attendance up for your reply. I'm not going to close it until the end of week 11. Okay. Now, this made me kind of think a few things through, and I was also considering this for my JavaScript course, so I'm officially going to say this here, and this will be the only place you'll hear me say this. So hopefully if you're watching, this will be a benefit to you. I'm going to modify the way I handle attendance post. Okay, so as you know right now, hopefully you know, attendance replies, even though they show up in your grade, are not counted towards your grade. That's still going to be true. But in order to incentivize you to do it, I'm going to do the following. And I'll give you a scenario to hopefully help you more clearly understand. I'll start it at week 10, okay? If you miss something due on time in week 10, let's say you didn't get to the code along, okay? You did it late, but then you did the learn together on time. This is just a scenario. You could have done them both at the same time. I'm just kind of giving you the idea. If you, and again, going forward, this will be for the week that you're in, right? Or the week that the attendance is due. So like for 11 and after, it would be during that week. Again, I messed up, so take that into consideration for the change of this week. But even if you miss some work, okay, in that week, or you're doing it in that week, or even later on, let's say in as far as week 12, if you did attendance, okay, so let's just be clear. If you did attendance, you hit reply during the window at which it was open, which is generally a week, okay, from the Friday, today's Friday, ending week 10, coming into week 11. So using the scenario of week 11, if you did attendance but you missed something, or you missed it and you did it late, either in that week or any time in the future to the end of the class. If you've done attendance, I should write an if statement for this. Anybody want to try? I dare somebody to write. You could totally do it, right? But if you do attendance, I will only take half of the late points. So normal late points are 25 points off of the grade. Okay, that's normal. If you submit it after my due date, that's just normal late points. So if you do attendance during that week, because remember, after that week, like as of next Friday, you won't be able to do attendance, therefore you won't get it. So even if you miss something, make sure you do attendance. I'm doing this because I'm noticing not everyone is replying to attendance, and I think it's important. Well, of course I think it's important. I'm doing it, right? So of course, right? So FYI. Did you get that? Okay, so if you want any clarifying, anything to clarify, you can do that in this reply. Now, we're coming into week 11, which means we're really 2 weeks away from your next dev. We've been talking about it, having you do some writing about it. I looked at your regex output, looks good. I mean, you at least thought about it, but Josiah, holy Mac, you wrote that whole thing? That's amazing. All right, so during this week that we're coming into, week 11, I'm going to be traveling Thursday and Friday and part of the weekend. But this doesn't really mean anything related to this class, because I still do office hours. If you're, for some reason, ready to do a code review, you could totally do that. Just reach out to me. I will release the code review schedule probably Monday or Tuesday before I head out next week. Again, I'm not telling you because anything changes. I'm just telling you in case, because where I'm going to be has Wi-Fi, but it is a little bit up in some mountains somewhere. But I still get to work. Lucky me. Actually, I love this. I say that tongue in cheek, if you know what that means. Okay, so just to be clear about that. So I'm going to leave, just to circle back around, I'm going to leave week 10 open for one more week because I made the mistake of not opening it up. And week 11, of course, will be the video that you're watching here with the new change. Okay. So please watch the video for Code Along Week or Section 11. I do not want anyone to write code that removes files from their local system. I don't want that. And then here, you actually are going to see an earlier version than the one I'm going to show you today of my Dev 1. Okay, so again, keep this in mind because I do these ahead. You're going to see an earlier version where I actually write to the local file in TXT format and string format, read it back into the memory of my code, and then do a leaderboard leaderboard algorithm. Okay. All right. So here's what I'm going to do, and I'm going to do it in way of the whole debugging tools, because that's part of what you're going to need to do when you walk me through your code. But I'll first show you the things I've added, and I will walk through my regex, which I want to say, and I'll actually wait till I get there to say it. So let me move over. The other thing is, and I'll just say this here, is that I've been working on my Dev 1 up here in private, and do remember that when you submit your Dev 1, it should be in this kind of structure. It should have a dev directory, and underneath there should have what was Dev 0 and then Dev 1 at that same level, and then that's where your code will be. And when you submit your code, I actually go out through Git and I bring that into my local system. But today, what I did is I actually put it out in public, so if you wanted to take a little closer look at it, you totally could. Okay. All right, so just for now, let me just do this. I also have, and I recommend this to help keep you organized. So I created a to-do.md file for my code so that I know what I have left to do. And the nice thing is, again, you're going to see an older version in week 11, but for this is the most current version, is I've modified, matter of fact, let me just run it. Okay, so let me just actually switch to bash. I'm in that dev directory. Again, I like to, for whatever crazy reason, run mine from the command line. All right, so now I have in-game leaderboard. That's the new thing that I added that you'll see in week 11. I'm not going to go through that code today. I have a play button and a change player button. So in this case, if I want to play, the first thing I have to do is supply an email address, because that's how I'm going to keep track. So of course that's not valid. That's not valid. That is valid. Okay, so it will only let you play once you provide a valid email. And then of course you can play all day long. It does show you, right? And it doesn't let you do for Rio. Okay, so then I can play all I want. My games, as you will see, are in here, right? So here we go, right? So that's my tracking file of the wins. And so I stop playing. But notice what I'm doing here, current player. So if there's a player selected, right, the email. So if I play again, you're not asked for that because the code actually says, okay, there's already a current player. Basically what I did there is I implemented a player global so that I could have that anywhere in my code I needed, and I just coded my menu to handle that. Okay, so I'm going to stop playing. And of course, my leaderboard, not the greatest. Still, I might want to do a little work, but at least it works to show right now there's a tie. But then, right, boom. Okay, cool. right, so what I'm going to do, I'm going to roll this up. And here, again, you can look at this code. First thing I'm going to do, though, is I'm actually going to delete my my game history file there, just because I want to show you a little something I did, because I did implement into my code the we'll just show you this here. I'll come back to this in a minute and I'll walk you through my regex and give you a little like what I'm willing to have you do for your regex if you're challenged in writing them, because they are not easy. Oscar, I heard you, right? So in this case, right, when I'm just kind of looking through to remind myself where we're at. So this is my while, and this is my if there's a player name. So if player name is because player name is global, right? So I'm using player name as what's called an falsy, true or falsy, right? So in this case, I set that global as a false. I don't have a player name. So in this case, I'm using it as a falsy value to just say if, right? If, oh, actually that's on the player side. That's when the user plays. Down here on the main menu is the idea of the falsy value. Then or if it's true, right? True means it's been populated, then it prints out the current one. Otherwise, it just prints the menu, right? And then if the choice is 0, right? So 0 is end of game. And actually, I ended up doing this here as well. I'm not sure why I put that in there, because if you're ending, play game, sorry, that wasn't player. Play game is false, right? So in this case, if the user selects 3, which is change player, if not player, this tells them, hey, you have to have a current player. If you're trying to change player and you don't have one else, it's going to set player to false, and then it just puts it back in there. Okay, so what I'm going to do, just as a way of, kind of showing you, is I'm going to come over here and I'm going to set a breakpoint right here, right? So this is when we're going to validate the email. I'm going to come over here. I was going to show you, because I actually wrote, okay, before I do that, let me just show you this, is when I rewrote my, when I write to the file, this is when I read from it, but when I write to it, I redid this in a try except, and I only for now, it's bare minimum, but it's at least working to where if that file, if I'm trying to write to it, right, and there's an error, it'll just throw one, and it'll be the same if I try to write to it, read from it. So I ended up wrapping all that code for iterating through that file in a try except as well. And I did make sure it ran, and that's a really important thing about making sure that all the branches of your code actually run and do it correctly. So what I did is I was running the code, I actually just deleted the game when it was trying to run the leaderboard. As a matter of fact, let's just go ahead and do that. So because I deleted the game file here, if I go ahead and run it, right, the current file, right, there it goes. It stopped. Oh, actually, in this case, what I should have done is stopped it right underneath, because right now all it's doing is loading that step into, right, boom, there we go. So at least here, and really that's about, I should have stopped it inside of the validation as well, but I didn't. So right, I can step through my code. There we go. So now I get my error message here, or my menu message. So if I wanted to look at the leaderboard and there's no file, right? So then what it will do is it'll drop up here and it'll go, oh, what's the choice? I'm going to read the file, but there's going to be nothing there. Okay, so it's going to try. And it's going to go, oh, no, can't. So what it'll do is it'll return. And what I do here is I just print the error message, and then I return an empty list. And I'll show you why I do that in a minute. So error reading the file. And then and the reason I'm doing this is so that I can have just another error message right here, because there is and it'll say no data in the file. Okay, so that's how I handled that. And let's just keep going. Okay, well, we're still playing. So now I'm going to right at this point, just present the menu back, which, by the way, you're going to in week 12 get a little more experience with another video to show you how to do this debugging thing. But now let me do the play, okay? Because I have no current player. When I hit 2 to actually play, then it's going to send me to here. And now, right, now I'm going to validate the email. Okay, so while true, I'm going to print our game uses. So I print something to the user. I ask them for their input. And then this is the code I'm going to use for my regex, right? So for my first 1 through 20th position, W says you can use letters, numbers, right? So that's a nice, concise way of doing it. Then you have an at. Your second position says between 2 and 20. So this would be your Rio at, right? This is, and then your domain, right? So that was a nice, clean way I found. So one of the things I would tell you is that even if you find examples, and this is the place I'm kind of trying to help, even if you find examples out on the web, it's okay to use them. Just give references and then be able to walk through and describe to me when you're walking through your code, what is this regex doing, right? That way I at least know you have a better knowledge of regex, right? So then we have the dot and then the between 2 and 3, that position, and it ends there. I'm using the rematch method. On the which I imported, I'm passing in that player name that I had. And then that's, let's see, where am I at? Oh yeah, so right now it's asking for, it's pausing right there, right? So, and now it's going to run, right? And it's going to say, oh, no, that does not match. And so then it's going to come into the else block. But because we're in a while block, it'll just stay in there. Okay? Okay. So I think I went over, let's see, is there anything else I did to this code? Let's go ahead and stop it here, right? So I already went over, like I said, you're going to see a later version. And really the other thing here is that the only thing I really feel like I have left to do, which is refactoring my game TXT to save as a data dictionary. I was thinking about it yesterday and I was like, I'm really going to have to think about how much I have to rewrite to do that. And again, everything up until there, I've met the basic requirements for the basic requirements for the dev one. So it really it's a matter of time for me as well. So maybe what you could reply to this video is if that's something you're interested in, I'll at least mock up as much of that code or get it done as I can. Because I want to see that as well. Like I told you, I like to be able to do it both ways. As a matter of fact, the other way I'd probably like to do it, I think that's why I'm getting hung up, is actually saving it in JSON format, because from my discipline of doing web development, JSON makes much more sense than saving it as a DB file. So I think that's why I'm hung up on not doing it yet, because I really want to do it the other way. So anyway. All right, lot of information in this reply or in this post for attendance. And right, so any clarification in any of this that you would like, everything is released through week 11. I am going to put out the schedule. Probably, I think I already said this before I head out, but I was also thinking about the schedule for week 13 forward. I will have that done next week, where I'm going to say, okay, here's how we're going to handle the rest. And we are, hopefully if you heard this, if you didn't watch week 10 attendance, you still can, where I talked about this topic. But we are going to work through the rest of the automate the boring stuff, and then we'll crunch it up a little bit, and then we'll spend at least 3 weeks doing the Tinkerer to have that be part of the last dev for this class. Okay? All right. Fun stuff. Have a great week, and I will talk to you soon.